to my channel. This is Amber's World. If you are new here, welcome. I'm so glad that you found me. I'm so glad that you're here. And if you're already part of my family and you've already subscribed, welcome back. Today is a new episode of the Black Heroes and Sheroes of Today interview series. This next guest that I present to you today is the embodiment of what it means to be ambitious. I love her spirit of just deciding this is what I want to do and I'm going to do it by any means necessary. And that is the same type of attitude and ambition that I wish to see everybody have. Black, white, gray, green, it doesn't matter. That, at the end of the day, all it takes is believing in yourself and knowing exactly what you want and staying the course. With that said, I present to you Aylin Dukes. So we'll start with, where are you from?
I am born and raised in Lansing, Michigan. By way of afterlife, I've lived in Minnesota and Indiana and New York.
As a woman who's grown up in many different places, can you explain your academic background?
I attended the University of Michigan, go Blue, and actually went there for political science, which is still my heartbeat and my love, but was exposed to African American studies and was like, oh, I need to do something with that. And then took a women's studies class and said, oh yeah, we're done. So I ended up with a triple degree in political science, African American studies, and women's studies. And a lot of people are like, well, actually, I had a counselor that said, you're going to be seen as a Jill of all trades. And I'm like, no, I am an African-American female who plans to work in the political arena. How does that not fit? Never thought of that. So on top of that, I then part of the reason I went to Minnesota was then to study management administration at Metropolitan State University at the master's level. So completed that there, and I'm currently working on my DPA, which is my doctorate in public administration, and that is to round out working in a civil environment where you help to manage cities and counties and municipalities and put policy and procedure in place that will hopefully sustain more efficiency.
What did you love most about your college experience?
Well, per my father, I love the social piece of it, which he told me very expressly, that is not what I sent you to the University of Michigan for, to be a social director. And I was like, well, I'm going to do a little bit of that as well as study and get out of here. The beauty of it was in all of that, with the studies, I actually did my undergrad in 3 years. And that was because I was right dead smack in the center of what I wanted to do. So a lot of wranglings in order to do that, but realizing, and I would encourage all students to look at how you make what you want to do work for you. Because I would take a class, and they now have a pathway to do this. I'd like to think I contributed to that. That I would say, okay, from the women's studies side, I'm going to do a presentation. From the African American side, I'm going to write a paper. And from the political science side, I'm going to take a test. It's all the same class, but the vantage point from which I was sharing the information certainly differed. So with knowing all of that and being able to enjoy my academic side of it, on the social side, after all of my wonderful studies, I pledged my illustrious, wonderful sorority. So we can't get that bleeped out. We got to have that in there. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, new chapter, which is the 13th ever established chapter at a specifically predominantly white campus. So loved Greek life and Divine Nine, and actually was able to meet my husband through some of those interactions. So that was socially, I loved it. The what would have been the precursor on our campus for Black Lives Matter, which was the BAM, Black Action Movement, was something I was also very involved. We were BAM 3, so there had been 2 before us. And I was a part of a sit-in at the president's office. Actually, when I also went on initially to grad school, the grad advisor for the Black Greek Association. So I was extremely involved on campus, and I loved the network that it built and the relationships that I've been able to foster from then until now.
And what advice would you also give students as far as, balancing all of that? You managed to graduate in 3 years with 3 majors, um, multiple student organizations. Some would say that's impossible, but of course we know that nothing is impossible, especially if you're determined to get it done. And so, yeah, could you just let students know like what it takes to really get it done and to do it beautifully as you described it?
Well, I definitely know, and after being a director of academic advising for a portion of my career, that prioritizing and time management is key. I mean, we say that very, very tongue in cheek and cavalierly, but the bottom line is, if you don't have a plan, I work from a to-do list today, every single day of my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I am one that checks boxes off, scribble things off, types things in my notepad. And for me, that's a sense of accomplishment, is knowing that I set out to accomplish a task and then I chunked it out and did it. A lot of times folks will look at the enormity of a college degree, of a new job, or whatever it is. And instead of saying this big elephant I'm going to take on one bite at a time, they look at the enormity of it and get stuck there and can't get beyond that. So I would say one step at a time, have a plan, make sure that you're writing that plan down. Otherwise, it's just a vapor. You don't have to do it by yourself. And a lot of times in our community, specifically African-American community, we believe we have to go it alone, and we don't. One of the things that I designed was a 2+2 well, at that time it was a 2+2 program. So there is value. And I've worked at community college, technical colleges, taught there before. I don't ever want to dismiss that as a pathway to getting to the next level as you figure out those gen ed classes and you learn the basics. And I think a lot of times we get so stuck on that 4-year finality that we're looking towards that we forget that there are a myriad of ways to get there. And that should be what we tout and talk about to our young people more than anything else, is here's your end goal, but there are 100 different ways that you can get there. And if we do that, then they won't get discouraged. They won't stop. They won't be deterred. And we'll be able to have far more individuals accomplish the ultimate goal. But starting and finishing looks very different for a lot of people.
How has that affected your career? Can you expand a bit on your career path?
Ooh-wee. You got a lot of time, right? I would put it in a nutshell. I promise you, I have lived like 80 lives and been so blessed in all of them. I've been a assistant director of admissions at several colleges, universities, a director of admissions and advising. I've had the opportunity to actually in the multicultural affairs and to be a adjunct faculty for a course that I created in Minnesota on equity, which was all of the isms and ists, some of which my private business has spun off, and I now have copywritten materials that I teach on the elephant in the room, grandma's table. Those are all pieces that I created. So we went from academia to then nonprofit with March of Dimes, where I was a community relations director for a little bit, and then to the Red Cross, where I was a regional volunteer director. So we went academic, nonprofit, and then I went a whole different direction. Well, we went K-12 for a bit as an assistant superintendent at Jackson Public Schools that dealt with everything. I was the ombuds person or ombudsman. And then most recently, as the executive director of a senior living community, and I became certified as a dementia practitioner and a nursing assistant. So it speaks to my degrees, which is learn how to learn and learn how to adjust and how to reinvent yourself as need be. Some of those were great choices that I made to change because I wanted to and I was interested in the area, but some of it was definitely because of market changes. We went through, now we're a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion are the buzzwords, but for a while there, because it wasn't speaking, as many couldn't see, to the bottom line, multicultural affairs, multiculturalism went away at a lot of places. I've had whole divisions go away. So as those things happen in life, you have to be nimble and agile to be able to adjust and move through life in a lot of different ways. So that, to me, for my degrees and experience, speak to you've got to be able to adjust. You've got to be able to make what you love doing, make money for you. And too often we say, well, I have this degree and I came out of the generation that I have this degree and I've got to stay in this degree and I've got to work only in this area. That worked out poorly for many, many people. They got stuck and felt like I can't go anywhere else. And I'm like, reinvent yourself, go get a different certification, go get a different degree, go seek a different area that, you know, the bottom line is the same. You have transferable skills, use them.
To achieve all that you have achieved and to do all that you have done, I would agree that it does take a level of excellence to implement, to do, and to accomplish. So my question for you is, what does excellence mean to you?
Excellence to me means never giving up. Because excellence isn't you do it the first time, you get it perfect the first time, you button it up, sew it together, cross the T's, dot the I's, and everything is perfect. It means you learn how to learn and move and keep going no matter what, and always pressing past your last greatest accomplishment. So settling for, yep, I did that. I accomplished that and I was able to get that done. I was, in my case, the first African-American female to be elected from my ward in the city of Lansing for city council. I was the first Black female president and was elected unprecedentedly with 3 times to serve in that position and twice as vice president. Oh, that should be good enough. Absolutely not. Let's go. Let's run for the House. Let's run for several other positions. Excellence to me is always looking at how to be better and go further and more for both yourself and others. Because if not, then you get stuck in a rut and that doesn't help anyone. And I see a lot of people that get stuck in that muck and mire of, yeah, but I did this. And so why do you think God continues to leave you on this planet? There obviously is something else you need to do or figure out, accomplish. So let's get to it. So excellence to me is never quitting and continuing to look for your best in yourself.
My last question to you, and this would be a perfect question for you because you are so involved politically as well. What do you want to see more of in the Black community?
I have got to see more of, and I've racked my brain about this. Each one reach one, each one teach one. Because I got to where I was did not mean that then, you know, someone else should be able to find or stumble through their own way. I was the first. So I didn't have someone else to show me the way and say, well, how did you financially raise that kind of money? How did you set up a team to run the type of campaign you did from a grassroots perspective? I should be able to give that knowledge back to someone else. And the difficulty is a lot of time the attitude was, I've made it and I made it on my own. So you make it, you go do it yourself. Why? I started a women's luncheon, African American women's luncheon, that acknowledged and recognized up and coming folks and people who had gone on before us. And so it had generations of greatness at one table. I mean, there were tears every single time we came together, because I was like, there's the one who I walk in the shoes of. Then someone else said, there's my first. She was the first warden in the prison system, specifically as a woman, but as an African American woman, definitely. So it's literally in our Black community, seeing each other as an opportunity to get to the next level is paramount. We cannot be apathetic. We cannot say, well, somebody else can do it. I need to do it, and I need to take somebody else with me. Mm-hmm. So it's paramount to me for the Black community that everyone is trying to reach out to someone else and to be of a benefit to each other.
Every time I ask that question, it's coming to me that the overall belief is that we need to have more community, which I couldn't agree more, a sense of community and not so much divide. Though I do believe that, you know, we've made lots of leaps, but when I look back on the decades of Black history, you know, there were times where I felt like we were probably more together than we are now. And I wonder why that is. So I feel like, especially for people of my generation, we could have a little bit more community. I feel like everybody, you know, I feel like it's this thing of, I'm going to have a seat at the table, but I'm not going to make sure that I'm not pulling out the chair for the next person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not making sure that the person next to me has their fork and their spoon. I'm not making sure that this person next to me has all their utensils, and is your food okay? Like, I'm just focused on me and my seat at the table, and I'm not concerned about bringing others to the table and collabing. So yeah, I couldn't agree more with what you said.
Very, very true, because many times, well, that's the capitalistic way. Is mm-hmm. I am out to get for me and mine, my four and no more. And I couldn't possibly see a world where we all can have the best. And I tell my students all the time, and I tell folks that I'm around, listen, my shine does not have to dull yours. So mm-hmm. The flutter of my butterfly doesn't have to stutter yours. And that concept for a lot of folks, because I'm great, I don't have to throw dirt on your shine for me to shine brighter. We can all, there's enough room for everyone to shine brightly. And you don't have to be scared of that and scared of someone else's shine. Help mm-hmm. them shine, dust them off, polishing them a little bit. All that is going to do is help everyone get to where we all need to be. And for some reason along the way, through the generations, we decided, well, no, it can only be me. There's only room. And this is the one thing I will note, I'll leave you on, is there used to be a badge of honor that folks would wear and say, when I said previously that I'm the first, that doesn't mean I was the last. There were some that came behind me, but there used to be this badge of honor of, I'm the only one here. When I became the executive director at the senior living community, the largest in the company's portfolio, that was a first. There were no others. Mm-hmm. I went and hired someone else who is now an executive director in the same company at a different community. That's how it should work. Instead of me standing with pulling on my lapel saying, I'm the only one. And we've got to get away from that mindset. We are a community, and it does take all of us. And we go back to, am I my brother and sister's keeper? Absolutely. Absolutely. And somewhere along the lines, we've got to make sure we're all committed to that mantra.
Now, before we say goodbye to each other and end this interview, I have to do what I always do with all my interviews, and that is give you my rapid fire round. So,
all right.
If you had the option of going to a barbecue or a seafood boil, which one are you going to?
Seafood boil.
Same. It's nothing like it. Cats or dogs?
Dog, since I have a dog now, dog.
Okay. I know he gonna watch this and be like, "What, cats?"
Right. Yeah.
And my favorite one, I've just been at this point, I'm just tallying the answers. Crab legs or bacon?
Bacon.
Okay, I feel like
I
we
don't
have
have
like
to
5
work
on
that
bacon.
hard for crab legs.
Yeah, I have like 6 people who said bacon, and so far maybe 3 people that say crab legs. The love for bacon is so real. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of the Black Heroes and Sheroes of Today interview series. Please comment below and let us know how you felt about this episode, and please stay tuned for the next one. All right, guys, with that said, bye.